there was just no question that anybody didn't know who she was. It's strange because her fame it's different than the fame people have today, because now we have so many forms of communication and so much content and social media and all these cable channels. When Elizabeth was famous, she was it. The gay community has other icons for sure. But the thing is, who was a better friend to the gay community than Elizabeth? She was our best friend when we were alone and there was nothing happening from the government. People didn't want to talk about it. Hospitals were afraid. They treated gay men dying of AIDS like lepers. Her compassion was, it was deep and it was profound. She understood how people felt. She'd had a lot of tragedy in her life. She could have lent her name to any disease, cancer, you know, diabetes, but AIDS was something that no one wanted to touch. And she had the courage to do that. There aren't photos of her in hospices. And that's because Elizabeth wouldn't have done that. She never wanted to have her picture taken. She hated having her picture taken. She certainly wasn't looking for publicity. I mean, her attitude was always she had a publicist to keep her out of the press. But there was a time when she went to Thailand, and this was in the 80s, and she went for there was an AMFAR event. And so Elizabeth went, and she was going to do this event, and she asked a woman named Sally Morrison, who worked for AMFAR at the time, will you go out and find out what the situation with AIDS is like? Because the people from the event said, we don't have a problem. We don't have AIDS in this country. And so she asked Sally, she said, I can't do it myself. And she asked Sally Morrison to go out and check out the scene. So Sally did that, and it was horrible, with all the child prostitution and all the stuff that was happening. It was a really, really bad problem. And she said, I want to go and visit somebody. I want to go to a hospital. And the organizer of the event said, we don't have anybody. She said, I'm not coming to your fucking event unless you get me with some AIDS patients. And I mean, Elizabeth did use swear words. And they did have a camera there. And there was a photograph of her shaking hands with an AIDS patient. And that ran headline across maybe the whole world, definitely Southeast Asia. That single act did more to convince people that it was okay to touch someone with AIDS than all the communication they had been doing. It made a huge impact and change. She just would say, like, what can I do for you? I mean, how can I help you? She talked about how, you know, especially in the beginning, people just wanted to be touched and held. And so she would hug them, and she gave the best hugs. In 1991, right after the White Diamonds perfume tour, she married a man that she had met at Betty Ford Center named Larry Fortensky. And, you know, they became close friends. They had been vulnerable together, getting sober. They became close friends, and they were in love with each other. And so they decided to get married. And Michael Jackson wanted to give them the wedding. And so it was all at his Neverland Ranch. This was before anything bad came out about Michael, anything negative came out, you know, all the negativity around the charges against him. So it was a very different time. Those wedding photos were worth a fortune. Everything was private, you know, even the wedding dress. Actually, I drove up with the wedding dress with the van driver to make sure that he did not open up that bag and take photos of it, because it was like, that's what everybody wanted to see, the dress. She made a deal with People magazine for $1 million. And that is the money. Herb Ritz took the photos, and that money was the money she used. So she used her wedding. She even used her wedding to raise money for AIDS. And that $1 million was the seed money to start the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation. I think this was around 2008 or maybe 2009. We were out one day, and Elizabeth was in a good mood, and we wanted to do something. And Elizabeth's kind of always had a point of view on her going to gay bars because she felt like she was just looking for attention. And it was a Thursday afternoon, and it was really quiet. It was 3 o'clock. And the other people in the car with us, were like, we couldn't think of, someplace to take her. And one of the people was really pushing her to go to the Abbey. Hardly anyone was in there. There were 3 guys, slightly older guys, at the bar. And we sat in a little booth, and we ordered nachos, and we ordered other kinds of like bar food and drinks and stuff. And at the bar, you could see that they were becoming aware that Elizabeth was there. 2 of them I specifically remember coming over separately and just getting on their knees and thanking Elizabeth for saving their lives and everything that she had done. It was just such a beautiful moment for that to happen right, at the end of her life. He said, "Thank you for everything you've done for us, Miss Taylor." And she said, "Love, I'm right here. Just anything you need, I will do." She started her work in 1985, and the last thing that we were going to do was to go to an event, an AmFAR event, where she was going to be honored. And we didn't make it, but it was the very last thing that she was going to do.